We are now come to the stage. We've had three great introductory speakers. Now we will have a little panel that will sort of maybe review a little bit what we've heard this morning. I'm delighted to invite our first young person. Not our first young person. We had one young person, but our first of our young talent. Of the LCC. So I'll introduce the three panelists, and then we will start the panel in a second. So one of the first panelists is Kristina Siebert, who's from LCC 1 in Germany. She began her career with an apprenticeship in Lufthansa City Center in Essen, and then she joined to Voya Travel in Hamburg, and later on moved into account management. And then she took time out, as some of them do, and traveled around the world to Australia and Southeast Asia. And now she is back from 2023 to LCC Reisebüro AG, and is now building a new chapter by leading the online booking engines department. With her on stage will be Ruza Faath, who is the sales manager for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland for Silversea Cruises. She has worked in that for over 30 years, so it's slightly above the Gen Z level, but I promise not to mention that. But she has a lot of experience to bring to the table from the industry, and extremely well-known and very good contacts within the travel agency community. Has also worked herself in travel agencies, both in TUI and in Der Touristik, but she's now here with us at LCC. And then finally we have Oliver Moore, Director of Travel Agency Sales, EMEA for Enterprise Mobility. He is responsible for all the TMC partnerships in EMEA. He has a lot of industry knowledge about enterprises distribution and payment and connectivity strategy. He has actually been with Enterprise since 2004, so has really been part of the growth of Enterprise over that period. Helped set up the company's entertainment division in 2006, then became National Sales Manager for UK and Ireland in 2013, and Head of Travel Agency Sales before coming to his current role in 2019. He is a very well-known coach in the tennis world, which I'm sure will serve him well as he aces the new panel here. I'm willing to repeat my jokes until you laugh. He is a tennis coach, which I hope will serve him well, and he will ace this session. So, welcome to Kristina, to Ruza, and to Oliver to the stage. Nice to see all three of you, and I'm sure you've enjoyed this morning. I don't know if it's, maybe I should just start by asking if you've sort of learned something new, or especially you, Kristina, I mean, you must have known it all already, because you are Gen Z.
Yeah, but I learned some very new things, also different opinions, so yeah, very nice morning.
Anything that caught your specific interest, any of you that said, my God, I didn't know that, this is something I should take with me and introduce in my company?
First of all, thank you very much, John, for this nice words. So my get ready with me was very efficient this morning, so I'm only slightly above the Gen Z, so
just
nice, very nice.
No comments.
I found the presentation of Yael was really, really inspiring. I learned a lot about the new generation Z coming, and yeah, they are our future guests.
Definitely. I mean, I've actually been on Silversea, and the average age is slightly above Gen Z.
Slightly, but we're working on that.
How are you working on that?
We are changing our product a lot the last 12 to 14 months. We try to be more digital. We try to change our product to attract the younger generation. Maybe not the Gen Z, but they will be there. someday.
We hope so. We hope so. And in terms of cars and enterprise, I assume there's a different attitude also to attract the Gen Zs. Are there different cars as well?
Yeah, I think the big change in our industry is that the raw material is changing. So, AI and everything and social media getting people to the vehicle, but we're still a very hands-on people business until we get to that point where everyone is in a driverless car, which we're still a long way away from. Everyone is in something that's very brand new. Anyone who's driven a vehicle less than 3 years old, particularly here within the European Union, the legislation around ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, your customers are having a very different experience than they used to. It's not put a key in an ignition and turn a car on in the old-fashioned sense. You are driving a modern computer system. And you genuinely do need young people to help navigate that and get you familiar with how to drive that vehicle, because it's very different in the last few years than, my generation would have grown up in driving manual transmission. Electric cars, very different. They're all a giant computer.
We heard earlier that Gen Zs have money and will spend money. So is that reflecting in the fleet and the type of cars that you want to sort of promote?
Well, before we came on stage, I asked Kristina, do you own a car? Of course the answer was no. So that big change is ownership to usership, right? And we're starting to see that as we trend towards 2030. All the data suggests ICE, internal combustion engines move to electric, but also the mode of transport's changing. Far bigger percentage into rail, far bigger percentage into active mobility, so scooters, bicycles, all of those things around the city and around that travel journey. So as business owners offering those services, are you only offering air, hotel, rail, car, or are you offering all of those other multi-modality? It's why we kind of have mobility in our business name these days.
But it's also about image and having the car that looks good and...
Yeah, the street cred and the status symbol of your car, I think, will still matter for a while. Just people are less desiring to own, more just to use and have access to those vehicles.
Okay. So let's get a little bit into the subject of Gen Z and next gen. It doesn't have to be just Gen Zs, but sort of the next generation. And I mean, Kristina, both working in travel and being a young person and with your friends, what do you think, what are you looking for? What do you think your friends are looking for first and foremost when they decide where to travel, where to stay, and what to do with their free time?
I think we are looking for very simple, mind-blowing experience. So when I'm...
Just mind-blowing, okay.
Yeah, it's when you try, every one of us, we have a bucket list. There's maybe a destination we ever wanted to go. And when we are, looking for going to that destination, I want to come back with a, let's say, a heart full of authentic memories. And I want to say I have visited the place. So not just being there, but be in it, experience the social life, the culture, the nature, because it's also a conscious way to travel somewhere. And, being flexible, I think, is now even more important than it was like 10, 20 years ago. And, we are spontaneous, as Yael told us this morning, when, 1 week later you want to go somewhere. And I think this is something we are looking for, very quick booking of, where we want to travel.
And when you go, is it more important that you take a photo or that you experience it?
It's actually, I like to post photos, and I want to have, let's say, the perfect shot. But for me, the experience is more for me, because when I go somewhere, I want to experience it the full way. We do photos. Every one of us takes photos, no matter which generation we belong to. And when we come home, we say, "Oh, look, I've been there, and this is amazing." But the experience, really being at one destination, is, I think, not shown in a picture, because it's emotion, and not every emotion is represented by a picture, because it's in the heart.
Good. You want to come in there?
Yes, I would like to add a point. So I think the strategy for the travel industry, the travel agents and the providers, is to stop selling products they need to start curating experiences, like she said. You have to give the Gen Z add a value on your hotel, on your ship, on your car, so they can take this value and put on their social media accounts.
In terms of, just coming back to what you said, in terms of travel agencies, from your experience, and you can be honest, as nobody's reporting anything here, do they know, these people in this room, how to deal with your generation? Do they know how to attract and sell to them?
I think you already might know, but you still have to learn more about it. And I think we set a very important impact this morning with everyone that also represented something before, because I think it's, we know how to sell dreams and travelers. We already did that in the past, because they're, no matter the generation, people want to travel. And we also want to travel as young people, maybe more because the access to the world is now even so huge than it was compared like 10 or 20 years ago, because we are able to it and we want to do it. And I think you are all able to do that. We just need to push a little bit more on
And you're willing to help teach them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Good. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. Oliver, one of the things that, and it's not just young people, but a lot of people now so much more aware of, is the whole sustainability issue, and being one of the polluters of this world. I mean, you've looked at it a long time, I'm sure, but you feel it's a more important decision when taking a car, what sort of pollution is generated and the electricity and so on.
Yeah, and you've got to balance it with the reality. And I think everyone across generations realizes that. We often I talk about going to a doctor's surgery when you rent a car. You've got to understand what you're prescribing to the user. And there is a lot of people who are still resistant because, if I was in Malta taking a vehicle and somebody offered me an electric one, would I know where to charge it? Whereas if I was domestically in my own market, I might know exactly where to charge that. So you've got to fit the right use case model to the correct type of customer who is open and approachable to that. If you're dealing with a client base who are transient travelers in and out of international airports, they're not necessarily the early adopters for electric vehicle, and that's a more sustainable option, but people who are on less of a tight schedule, and that's where is it business travel, is it leisure? It's a big thing. I think one of the other points I want to pick up from earlier was we talk a lot about friction and getting in people's way. So early check-in is something that the industry has adopted, from the airlines. You can do that in your own time. Because people realize that, we're giving them a 40, 50,000 euro asset. And that's an expensive vehicle. It's very risky to give that person that thing. So we get them checked in advance. And then that vehicle also will check itself out at the end. So connected cars, those computers I referenced earlier, they'll talk to rental systems now and feed back any maintenance that's needed on the vehicle, the fuel level, all of those details that we need in our system. So that's taking friction out of the process.
What sort of percentage cars, how are you phasing out petrol cars into electricity?
Well, it's manufacturer-led and regulation-led. So what we've found as an industry is forcing electric vehicles on people really doesn't work. You've got to listen first. What do people want? What do people need? I think the sectors that we've seen really embrace electric vehicle is insurance replacement. If you drive a Tesla, an electric vehicle yourself, you're far more accustomed to that and willing to take an electric vehicle. If you're brand new, you've never driven one before, and you go to a foreign country, you're much less receptive to that. So you have to listen and understand your customer.
Okay. And you mentioned driverless vehicles.
Yeah.
Are they coming? Are you anywhere close? I know not in Europe probably, but in the States you do have.
Yeah, you got Waymo, you got San Francisco, but it's small pockets right now. In terms of that en masse, we're still quite some way away from that.
Okay, but things move fast these days.
They do.
Don't forget, guys, there's a Slido. I'm keeping an eye on questions from the audience, so don't be afraid and give us some input here. Ruza, in terms of online presence and changing that whole attitude, we know, and we learned even more today, that you have to be on the platforms that your future customers will see. So is this something that you've looked at from a company point of view?
Absolutely, absolutely. We changed our marketing agency 6 months ago, and we are now transforming Silversea really to a new brand. We're getting younger, and for travel agency we offer a really interesting tool called Ralio. They can do social media posts, automated social media posts. We are delivering the input, and the travel agency can put in their contacts and their information and say, okay, I want to go out the post twice a week, every day, which hour, and the posts are getting out of their social media content automatically and with their information and contact. So we are delivering the input, and the travel agency just personalize and send it out to their customer.
So have you ever thought about having a social media wall on all your ships so everybody can see what fun it is? And you can have that idea for free.
Thank you very much for that. Maybe in the future. I think today there's not so much Gen Z generation on board, maybe the kids of our clients, but I think in the future, in the next few years, it's a good idea to do so.
And in terms of I mean, which platforms do you post on, Kristina?
Where I post?
Yes?
I post on mostly Instagram. I use TikTok, but only to scroll, not doing TikTok on myself. So it's mostly, for me, it's Instagram. And for, my, let's say, family members, they do not have Instagram. I post it on, the WhatsApp status.
And do you see any travel agencies ever on there?
I've seen travel agencies on Instagram and also on TikTok, less on TikTok, more on Instagram, also like LCC accounts, but very less.
So what?
Because a lot of you already know, some might not. TikTok and Instagram work with algorithms. And if I'm staying on a video like more than 10, 20 seconds, I will get more content of that. So if there's a travel agency video and I stick with it for, I don't know, maybe even a half a minute, if it's interesting, there's more content of that coming to me in the following hours and days. And that's, where I might think of, or someone else, maybe I can contact that agency. That looks very nice. I'm going to figure out what are they going to do. Do I like that? So this is simply how you get your audience today.
And does your agency have a social media strategy?
No. Not yet.
So how do we get the agencies to understand? I mean, it is so important nowadays.
I think it's very difficult. So it's not something that is, I think, happening today. But as we are talking about it, I think we are beginning to build something. And I think we need to bring all people to one table from all generations. Because I think the most important thing is we need to connect to each other and listen to each other. Because otherwise, we won't build something.
That is for sure. Do you post on social media?
Yes.
You don't have to lie to me, it's okay. We are amongst friends here, we can be honest.
But John, our youngest user group typically turn to car sharing products. So instead of the traditional rental branch, they just pick a car off the street. So the mobile phone accesses the vehicle, opens the vehicle, the keys are in there, and that self-service culture going from agent-assisted to self-service is a real trend. We all see that within TMCs and agency booking tools going more self-service tool, but actually accessing vehicle and that multimodality of picking train into tram, into bicycle, into car-sharing vehicle. That's really the trend that young people are far more familiar than a singular option in a journey.
And you do that as well, the car sharing?
Yeah, we have car share. We have UK, we brand it Car Club, and then we have car share all around Europe. So, yeah.
I have an enterprise car club where I live, just around the corner. There you go. Very good. So there's a question from the audience. There's one for you, Ruza. How attractive are luxury cruises like Silversea's for Gen Z? and it's, I mean, they say as entertainment activities are low, I'm not sure entertainment activities are low, but they may not be directed. I mean, is that something you're looking at, how you actually change the entertainment to be directed to a younger audience?
Yes. We try to, like you said before, to make the cruise more authentic. So I think it's not about doing the club dance at the pool or have the pool party. I think these are the things from the 80s. Today it's about experiences. We have really a lot of shore excursion, dive deep into the destination, a lot of culinary shore excursions. So eating is very important on a cruise ship, of course. And our customers also want to have the experience ashore, just to learn the destination with all the senses they can. But also on board, we try some also yoga classes. We do cooking classes with recipes from the region. So we try to give the guests more entertainment, but I think for Gen Z, it's maybe not enough. So I think Gen Z is looking for maybe some more individual things and not just to do it in the group, I think.
I think we heard from Kristina, they're looking for real experiences. Mind-blowing experiences was the quote. So we all want our mind blown. So there's a question which I think maybe, Kristina, we can try to answer. I mean, we're trying to be more sort of more personalized in our attitude, but there's a lot of sort of data privacy concerns. Is that a difficult balance to? I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but it's a difficult balance to come over.
You know, I'm not a professional in data security, to be honest. But, you know, I think when it comes to, is it like, you know, when we try to post something, the privacy concerns, or? I actually don't see a very big problem.
I mean, when you post out to the open.
Yes.
I mean, anyone who wants to see.
Because I decided by myself free, and I think as travel agencies, you know, we have to be a lot more professional than an individual. That's, of course, because we need to have a look on what we post and if it's correct and confirm. But I think that's nothing that should stop us from going on that way. I think it's maybe just one little detail or fact we have to look at, but it's, you know, not the stone in the way that is going to break everything down. Okay,
we have a session tomorrow afternoon about you know, cyberspace security, including data privacy. So I welcome you to that session as well. Since I'm running it, you should all be there. We look forward to that. But maybe the other question is more so for you, Kristina, but others can jump in. And that is a question about the disloyalty of Gen Z customers. How can you, as a travel agency, get over that fact? I mean, you may give them the best experience of their life, but if somebody else, you know, they don't come back to you just because of that, which in the old days, the customers did come back to you. Once you had the trust of the customer, that was it. That was the biggest hurdle, and that customer would come back to you like forever. But that's not the case with Gen Z. So I don't know how you get over that lack of loyalty, that it's a one-time purchase, and then next time I'll look at whatever else is available. I think trust in being authentic and transparent is still a thing for us, because we value real conversations, and I value a connection with someone. And if I connect with someone, I'm going to remember that. Definitely. So maybe, you know, I try different things by myself, but I'm willing to be a lawyer at some point. It's just have to stick in my mind, the person, the product, or the travel agency. And I think as travel agencies, from that perspective, I think to always be in the mind of our customers, especially Gen Z, you have to be always on track, always follow the newest trends, always know what's going on social media, and post about it, because otherwise you won't fall off. I guess it's also a question of staying in touch with that traveler. Definitely. So once they've had the experience, you need to remind them, by the way, you
Yes.
had that great experience with us, we can give you another one. So it's not just a one-time sale, but you have to yourself make sure you get in front of that customer all the time. I mean, I guess loyalty is a big factor for you, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we have about 75% of our guests coming back in 12 months. So we have a huge share of our loyalty guests, but we need to get some fresh blood on our ships. And that's because we are really listening to our guests. So it's very, very important. We do a lot of feedback, and the worstest feedbacks go directly to our CEO. He wants to read that, and he wants to know what the clients are talking about. We have a really active Facebook group. I know for Gen Z, Facebook is, but for us it's relevant. Maybe it will change to TikTok. I know. And there the clients are responding really directly. They are on our ships, they are on the voyage. They don't like anything, and they just put it on Facebook. And really important people in our company are reading this. So we try to satisfy the guests, even if there are some complaints somehow.
It's interesting, because I was on a panel last week where they said exactly the opposite. They said the first thing they sent to the CEO, or it was actually the CEO speaking, and he said, the first thing I want to see is the good comments. Of course, we want to deal with the complaints, but when I get good comments, especially good comments about staff, I personally call them, and it was very interesting. We said, I personally call them, and they all think it's a fake call. Say, this is the CEO here, and they say, oh my God, I'm going to get fired now. Or, why is he calling me? He's never ever said hello to me in the past. Now he's calling me. And he's calling to congratulate them on a great performance that he has. So maybe it's important also, of course, to reward staff. And I have certainly had bosses in my time who would always mention the things that go wrong and not mention so much the things that go right. So it's good to focus on that on that as well. For you, loyalty is a big thing?
Yeah. If I can, John, humor me here. I'd like to make an opportunity request here for everybody in the room. I started out with that usership rather than ownership. Right now, when we look at the domestic travel needs of European countries, I'll just start with Europe because that's where I'm familiar with. Those domestic travel trends show us that 70% of journeys can't be completed entirely on public transport. Of those journeys, 80% of people default to using their own private vehicle. So that's through mileage reimbursement or kilometer reimbursement through their companies. We're all familiar with that. Every journey that takes place in that way is a lost opportunity for everybody in this room because nobody needs help booking that. The car is on their driveway. When we see that next generation coming through who don't own the vehicle, how are we helping facilitate that journey and that opportunity for us all where people are not owning the vehicle? So working with those partnerships, helping people access the travel and the different types of mobility would, to me, be the huge opportunity for both loyalty and really to drive the revenues of this industry.
Okay. I think you're answering one of the questions here, which is about what responsibilities do both agencies and suppliers have for setting the trends rather than following the trends. And I mean, there you're setting a trend here and starting something new and fresh and different. I mean, it's not easy setting the trends. And sometimes when you follow, things go so fast that once you follow, then you're already past it. I mean, I'm now just getting on Facebook, and then you say you're all left. So it's, but it's not true. But you were never on Facebook. But how do we set the trends? How do we learn what's going to happen? There was a question earlier on that we didn't have time for. The next one is apparently called Gen A. Which are not yet buying their own travel, but they will be coming up soon. And for them, their minds are already in a square box in front of them all day long. So how do we set that trend?
What I can imagine is, especially for travel agencies, if you already have, young employees, which is also a very big, topic, I believe. I think if you have in every agency, or that also applies for travel providers, one person like calling them a digital agent or assistant, someone who, works with social media during the hotel, having a look, okay, what's going on in the world, what are influencers doing, where are travel bloggers, and you will quickly find the trends, and if you're very quick, you can hop on the trend and sell it even faster, but you have to be very quick because there are trends, you see them on TikTok, and 3 weeks later, there's something else that is in the mind of everyone.
And I guess it's also about partnership between the supplier and you. I mean, you mentioned yourself in the past that how travel agents need to influence or tell the suppliers what they need in order to sell their product. And do you think they're listening?
I think they already do, but I think there's, I believe every time there's even more to be curious about and to go even more beyond of what we already do and what we already think we might know. I think there's always, a new way or another way we can try, and maybe taking risk also in our business. But I think also very, let's say, I think the big partners of us don't have, that struggle because they are very known. So if you can send a trend, you're very known of people, and you already have maybe the following, you can send a trend. So it's
very good.
Very different.
We need to sort of get towards a wrap-up here. If there's sort of one lesson that you can take with you from today, that you're going back to your companies and saying, guys, we must do that now to be on the right track with the Gen Z travelers and the next generation. Is there one piece of advice, one thing that you take with you that you would go back and tell them?
It's absolutely social media. I learned, I knew it's important, but today I really, from the presentation of Jai, learned it's more important than I thought it is for Gen Z. So they really grown up as digital natives. I can't imagine that they don't know what the time was without internet. So this is really, for me, I'm not a digital native, so I know the time, and I had the maps, and I have a good orientation. So for me, Google Maps was really amazing. So I think social media, that's the key. That's the key for the next years, yes.
Oliver?
I think you've got to continue to listen to your customers, and you've got to continue to wow them, right? For us, the product is broadly not ours. We are giving access to vehicles that are made by the original manufacturers, and you have to find ways to differentiate yourselves, and that's typically we find the best way is to listen to what those customers and that fresh generation coming through is looking for.
I believe for me it's, connecting all generations and talk even more to each other and speak to each other, because otherwise, listening is one thing, but we need to speak and talk and discuss even more about it so we can find a way together, because I believe that, together we are the most powerful. So we just stick together and, get to the table. It's not easy, and it won't be easy in the future, but I think we can handle that.
I think we've learned that the next generation is extremely well-spoken and very intelligent, and so especially thanks to Kristina, but a huge thank to Oliver and Ruza, who of course are experienced professionals, so we expected you to be on the ball here. But let's thank our panel for very lovely insight.